Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Late Night Leos. This is your host, Morgan Beebe from Thor Gecko. Tonight, I have Chris Chappell on. It's the Chappell Show with Herptastic Reptiles. Chris, you want to say hello to the crowd?
Well, hello, everybody.
The crowd's not very talkative tonight, but just imagine a bunch of cheering in the background, and it's great. So, you are a rack builder, so why don't you tell us, how you obviously you must have started from a reptile perspective, or did you start from hey, I want to build racks for these crazy people that spend all of their time in their basements? Where did it start?
Well, it started out where I had gotten back into reptiles after being out for, I guess, about 10 or 15 years, and decided that we were going to get back into doing reptiles a little bit better and do it myself. So I built myself a couple of wood racks. Nothing fancy, nothing spectacular. And then, a friend was like, "Hey, could you build me one?" Sure, why not? I don't, like that. I built him 2 or 3 racks, and then he showed a couple of his friends, and he's like, "You should build these, all the time." I'm like, "I guess I could. It's not really difficult to do." At that point, It was all wood and nothing too crazy. And then
you didn't have melamine?
No, I was using plywood, and we were painting it with acrylic paint, because the acrylic paint isn't a problem for reptiles, and it seals the wood really, really well. But a friend of mine from the local herp society said, "Well, could you make a PVC rack for me?" I said, "PVC? I'm sure I could. It would just be a matter of sourcing the material." So I made contact with the supplier and started off with having them cut it for me at first, and then started it to the designs as things grew. We added recessing the heat tape to make the heat. Saw that some of the bigger names in the business were doing that, so I said, well, I'll try it. I'm sure I can make it work. I was doing this all on my table saw in my garage. And then, I talked to somebody that they worked for one of the bigger rack makers out there, and because I was getting my heat tape from them, and he's like, you need to move on to automation if you want to do this for real.
Yeah.
So, kind of did some research and decided that if this is going to be where I'm going to go, if this is actually going to be a business and not that making the investment for a CNC router, which is basically a robotic machine that cuts all the plastic and can cut other things too, but I have mine specifically set up for cutting plastic.
Yeah.
That would be the best route to go.
How much is something like that?
You can actually build your own anywhere.
Ooh, cool.
From $4,000 to $5,000 to build one, and then you can get into pre-made machines that start anywhere from $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for something really small. I'm using the full 4x8 sheets, so I need a large format machine, and something like that usually runs you in the neighborhood of $20,000. I've seen some that are $100,000 that are, more industrial designs and bells and whistles and things that I don't really need myself, so I wouldn't spend that money. But, if somebody was going to get into the business, investing in that $20,000 machine would be the smartest thing they could do.
That's crazy.
And Yeah, that's only the half of it. I mean, they're into designing something, because before the machine can do anything for you, you actually have to sit down on the computer and design it in a CAD software. CAD software can't tell the machine what to do, so you have to take your CAD design and move it into a computer-assisted machining. It's called CAM software, and that is where you actually design, take basically your drawing of the parts that you're going to make, and have the computer set up where the machine is going to actually do the cutting. You know, how deep is it going to cut here? How deep is it going to cut there? There's so many variables. It's really
insane.
something to sit down and actually look at a design. I mean, I've had customers that are like, well, can I see the design? And I'm like, it wouldn't really make sense if I showed it to you. I mean, I can show you the pictures, but until the machine actually cuts it and then it's actually assembled, it's not something that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, and there's been a lot of trial and error over the course of, I mean, I've been doing this since 2013, and I've been using the automation since 2014. So, I mean, I've probably wasted $10,000 worth of material just with trying something and it didn't work, or one thing or another. I didn't cut it right, or, you know, when I was sitting down in process, I had something offset a little bit too far, and when it cut it, it didn't line up properly. So personally trained myself. I kind of took the software and ran with it, and I paid somebody that took about 8 hours worth of time, and they kind of walked me through some of the very basic stuff, and I was like, well, now I can adapt that to what I need to do. Like, you know, one of the things we do with, you know, I put pilot holes in everything, so I have to make a spot just so that I can tell the machine where to put the pilot holes. And put grooves on the side pieces and back pieces. You know, whether it's an enclosed rack or an open rack, there's grooves, and I've learned how to set those grooves up to be the right width for the piece that's going to go in at the shelf as you're building the rack. But I've also learned how deep to make it so that the strength is the best it can be, and, you know, all these things, just trial and error. And now I have racks that are strong enough that you can stand on them. So.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I mean,
wow, that's crazy.
Nobody wants to buy something that's going to fall apart on them. And, you know, we've gone the route of making racks that ship disassembled to the customer. On one hand, it's nice because it's less worry about breakage, because if something breaks, it's usually only one piece, and it's very easy to replace one piece versus, you know, a freight company destroying the whole rack, and then I've got to make an entire new rack. But you know, we've gone that route, so I've gone through a lot of different steps to make things easier for the customer to assemble, and we're doing that with our cages as well, because we don't just do racks, we do cages. And I'm in the process of reworking, because I was actually always assembling the cages and shipping those assembled, becoming both cost prohibitive for the customer standpoint, as well as time prohibitive for me to actually build everything before I ship it. So we're moving towards everything being disassembled ship. It's just a whole lot easier for everybody involved to do it that way. So we're going that direction with the cages as well.
Huh. Yeah, it would make sense to me to have even the enclosures, you know, like you assemble them when you get them. because it can't
Right.
be that hard.
No, I mean, everything we do has grooves where everything goes in its little groove, and then you screw through the holes that are already drilled in the pieces, and it's super, super simple.
Yeah.
Not to say that anybody else's rack isn't simple to assemble. I actually haven't bought anybody else's racks. Just, not something I do, but as far as ours are concerned, I've done everything I can think of to make them easier to assemble. We actually just redid our enclosed designs to be modular, where they actually interlock with each other and stack. And when they're interlocked and stacked, you actually have to lift perfectly vertically to separate them. So one of the things that actually came from a customer in California, they were concerned with one of the other company's racks they had these little pins that go in between the two racks when they stack, and it just wasn't stable. And if they had an earthquake, the top rack would be either shift or could even fall. So they kind of said, well, can you do something where the rack is stuck together much better? So I spent some time, thinking of that, and some trial and error goes. We did some trial and error with some scrap pieces to see what would work the best. Kind of tried puzzle pieces, like little round globes, but that didn't really work out well. They would snap off or what have you, and it was hard to actually get the racks to interlock with each other that way. So what we ended up doing was making little feet on the rack. They're like little tabs, and it acts as feet on the bottom rack. And then there's notches on the top. And when the second rack, the feet from the second rack lock into the notches on the top of the first rack. And that worked out really, really well. We've actually tilted them to the point where they fell over, and when they fell over as one unit because they were locked so well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it looks kind of like a castle up on top of the rack.
Yeah, I've actually heard that. We were tossing around names for it, and I decided to call them modular racks, but with how many people are saying they look like a castle on top, I've actually kind of thought about calling them reptile castles, because that's pretty much what they are.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like like an apartment building castle type deal. Wow,
yeah,
that
we're
is
actually
really cool.
I'm working on doing something similar with our cages as well, where the cages are going to have notches that interlock, so that way when you stack, 5 cages on top of each other, they become one unit essentially, which is just more for stability's sake. I mean, if somebody's got a kid and they come up and reach into the second or third cage and try to pull something out, or let's say a retic breeder, they've got a retic in there that weighs 200. Pull that retic out, cages that aren't locked together, you can actually pull the retic out and actually slide the cage.
Yeah.
So this is experience talking. I've done it before. I've actually slid my one cage that's sitting on top, pulling my retic out. So.
Wow. Yeah. Have you guys
just
ever
one of those
thought of
things.
doing like have you ever thought of doing like a earthquake strap?
Well, that's something I've had customers add them to our racks, similar to like what they would, you can go to the store and buy a strap that would go on a dresser or something like that to attach it to the wall. That way, again, a child couldn't pull it down or earthquake couldn't cause it to fall. And I've had customers add that. It's not really something I've thought about including with the rack, but it's certainly something available to customers if they wanted to go to the store and add that. I mean, we've had customers do all sorts of things with what we send them.
Nice. So how do you go about selling racks? Do you do it yourself, or, I mean, obviously you have like a business license, right?
Right. We're a fully licensed business in North Carolina. We're actually going to be expanding soon to add another state or two to our actual business license, but we're authorized for internet sales nationwide. We've
nice.
What we've been doing pretty much is keep a larger online presence than a lot of our competition. One of the things that drove me to actually build my own rack the first time is one of the rack builders out there didn't get me after almost a week of waiting and sending 2 or 3 emails. So I said, I'll just build my own at this point. There's, if they don't want to answer me. And,
yeah.
Here we are today. I've kind of decided that one of the things I'm going to do, as a make sure that I'm always available to my customers. I mean, I've answered Facebook messages and emails well past midnight my time, and holidays, weekends, as long as if I have my phone on me, I'm kind of how it is, and unless my wife says it's family time. I've always,
I know.
You got to respect when the wife says it's family, but for the most part, I try to be available pretty much. If I'm awake, I'm available. That's one of those things, I genuinely don't understand how some businesses, and not just rack builders, but, businesses as a whole, just throw up a website and customers order from them. And, the website will send them an email confirmation that they've got their order. But until it arrives, they have no idea anything. They don't talk to anybody. It doesn't make sense. So I've always tried to be a little bit different when it comes to that. If somebody messaged me on Facebook right now, even, I would, I'm on the phone with you doing this interview, but I would answer them on my computer that's right here in front of me. Just,
Well, it's, I have noticed that too, is especially over the last 4 years. I mean, the industry as a whole, right around 2013, 2014, really, took a nosedive. And I think you're pretty much the only rack person that, I even see commenting or anything on Facebook. And so it's good that you're, hopefully that means that you're going to get more business and more customers and be able to grow your business.
Oh, it's been working so far. I mean, before this started out as something very part-time. All joking aside, I actually would take vacation to take care of a bigger order when I would get a bigger order, or I would call in sick, or whatever needed to be done so that I could get somebody's order out to them in a timely fashion. And now that I'm doing this full time, it really has still trying to maintain as much availability as I can. I may not always have the answer you want to hear, but I'll always answer. Lead times are what they are sometimes, and people want their racks yesterday. But I'd rather say, hey, things happened and I can't get it to you as in the time frame that you expected or wanted, but I did answer you, because nothing is more annoying as a customer than just not getting answered or being ignored. That's just, and I've heard horror stories about, certain builders don't even answer. They get your money and just disappear. just not going to be that. That's just not going to be me. I mean, it's just not the right way to do business. So,
you know, that's I mean, the people that I order racks from, because I mean, this is the first time I've talked to you, but it's like 12 or 16 weeks out, you know, for you to get a rack. So, I mean, the bigger guys, you really got to plan it, because, and I even had a situation back in 2014 when a big breeder decided to do an upgrade, and my order got bumped. Like, you can't do one rack with that person's 20 and just send me mine. So,
well, now I don't know which builder that is, and I'm not going to ask, but I will say that, you know, knowing my business and knowing the number of orders that I have outstanding, could I bump an order ahead? Of course. I could do anything I want to do. Is it fair to every other customer if I did that? It's not. Now, if somebody ordered 20 racks from me, am I going to bump them ahead of everybody else? I'm also not going to do that, because that's not right to everybody either. You know, we've kind of, over the course of time, upgraded our order management system thing more. I try to keep everything as in front of me as I can. That way I know what's next, and I can make sure that, you know, the heat tape is done for it, that the materials are here, all the accessories that I'm going to need if there are any, like with cages. Sometimes to get the doors, sometimes we need to get handles for, you know, if it's a drop down door cage, or, you know, a hinge cage. We have to make sure we have handles. We have to make sure we have the LED lighting, you know, for some of the cages.
Yeah.
So I make sure that I have everything available, and then the last thing I actually do is the actual cutting. So everything is kind of fluid, I guess you could say, is the best way to say it is everything's fluid. So sometimes if I'm waiting on in and I know it's not going to come in until Friday, then I may move a rack order ahead and cut that on a Monday or Tuesday, because I know I still have a couple more days for that accessory to come in before I do the cage.
Yeah.
So, because anybody, if I can't ship that cage out until I get the accessories on Friday, it's not helping anybody if I cut that cage on Monday.
Yeah.
If I move the cage back to cutting on Wednesday or Thursday, and I can get a couple of racks done in the meantime, that's kind of the way I do with orders. But,
so, you know, a lot of people ask me, because of, like, you know, the delay time in getting racks, how long does it take from, like, start to finish for one single rack?
It really depends. Our most popular rack is the 5-level 1532 quart. It's really a versatile rack. It can do anything from leopard geckos, you know, I say purchased hatchling ball python meals. They can actually go into a 15 quart. Not a hatchling that you hatched yourself and hasn't eaten yet, but a hatchling that you purchased that's well started can go into a 15 quart. A 32 quart can go, you know, all the way to ball pythons up to 2,500 grams. You know, you could put a harem of leopard geckos in there. You could put small boas in there for a short time. Even reticulated python babies can go in there for the first 6 months to a year of their life, and things like that. Probably our most popular rack. That rack, when it comes down to it, it takes roughly 2 hours for the machine to start to finish cut everything that's necessary for it. There's also the manufacturing time for us to do the heat tape, which I try to keep that more ahead of time. That's, I say, a separate department. My wife handles doing all the heat tape. She actually cuts it, solders it, handles that entire thing. I kind of leave her with a list of what needs to be done, and she makes sure that gets done. But if I have the piece of heat tape in my hand and I had absolutely nothing else to do, it would take about 2 hours to knock one of those racks out from raw sheet to ready to ship. But
nice.
That's the hard thing to impart on people is, you know, for me right this second and say, well, you just told me it takes 2 hours. Can you ship it tomorrow?
Yeah, right.
Of course, again, it comes down to the fact that, of course, I physically could I? Yes. But is it right to all the other customers that are waiting and have been waiting weeks for their turn, for their sheets to get on the machine? And that's the bottleneck right now, is the machine just takes time to cut things, and there's not much I can do. On an average day, you know, I will cut 6 to 7 hours on the machine, knock out several racks, and then while the machine's cutting the next batch to ship the following day. It's a pretty constant cycle.
Wow, that's really insane. I mean, if you think about it, like, you're feeding the machine while your wife's doing heat tape, and, you know, then you got to package them and do shipping labels. And, I mean, I'm sure there's something that goes into, oh, well, this guy wants this kind of rack, and this other one wants this other one, so I got to change the schematics or whatever.
All right, all the designs are saved on well, I save them on several places because in case, Lord, God forbid, something happens, I have backups of things. But that's actually attached to the CNC machine, and that has all the programs on it that are already designed. And pretty much it's just selecting, you know, okay, we're going to do a 1532 enclosed, select that design, put it on, and then attach the sheet to the machine so that way it's stable while the machine's cutting it and it doesn't move. That would be terrible to forget because I've never done that, I swear. As the machine's cutting it, there's actually different bits that cut different widths. For example, it uses an 1/8 inch bit, and then I have a wide bit that's about 1 inch diameter that for doing the heat tape recess, because it's a large area that gets cut out for that, but it's very shallow. So I have a large bit that does that, and it does that much quicker. And then it comes back, and I change the bit a third time to the last bit, which is the one that will do the groove into grooves that become the probe pocket on every shelf. It does little notches on each shelf so that the wires are protected when you're assembling the rack. And it does the actual final cutout of each individual piece. All the while, I've got to be pretty much within earshot of the machine so I know that it's time to change the bit, because I can hear when the router stops and the machine comes to the bit change position. Then I change the bit, tell it that it's changed, and it goes through its process and does the next portion. And then at the final stage, when it's actually each individual piece out, I have to actually babysit the machine to make sure that any little, like when we do the castle pieces, all those little notches become small little squares of PVC, and they can jam up the machine. So as the machine's cutting it, pieces out, and then when each individual piece is done being cut out, I start pulling them off the machine. That way the machine's quicker to ready for the next sheet to go on.
Yeah.
It's part of the process that I've learned, that I can speed things up if I spend the last cycle standing with the machine, and I can actually start pulling pieces off. That way, when the machine's done, I've already unloaded all the pieces, and then all I have to do is clean the tabletop, and then I can throw the next sheet on and move faster through the process.
Jeez.
So that's just different ways that I've learned to boost efficiency. You know, we're always trying to improve. You know, if I can make 5 racks in a day instead of 4, that's 5 extra happy customers in a week that got their racks. Or 20.
Are you planning on upgrading your facility to have another CNC machine?
Well, what we've been deciding to do over the last 2 or 3 months, we've decided we're going to be. We're just kind of waiting right now. We're in the process of working out the financing and everything that's necessary. It's a hefty investment. Our facility does have enough room to keep the old machine with the new machine. I most likely will, at least for a while, run both. And I'll probably keep the old machine as a backup. The new one, likewise, the new one can be running if something happens to the old one. It just makes sense to keep both machines around.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, I'm one of very few rack builders who are doing everything, you know, robotically. I don't think any of the other ones have 2 machines, so 2 machines would be able to do things that much faster. So we've already, you know, we've done some things that have grown us significantly. You know, we've been getting our materials in much larger quantities than most. I mean, I get 200 to 300 sheets at a time now instead of buying, 40 or 50 at a time. So that's, I keep a heavy inventory of materials in the shop.
Wow.
So the next logical step is where I can be cutting 2 things at once and probably hire somebody. That way, 2 people can be, somebody can be babysitting each machine, make sure everything's going the way it should be going. It's a process. It's growing a business from pretty much nothing to what we are today. It's mind-boggling that I've come this far in just a few years. We're set to sell nursery next year. Going from the day that I made my first rack that I ever sold, and just the changes that, both in design, quality, how fast and how big we've grown. It's pretty crazy to just sit back and think about.
Yeah.
The only bad part with the growth is it's harder to do the custom things that I used to do for a lot of people. I used to do, pretty much if anybody wanted something, I would figure out a way to make whatever they wanted. And now it's gotten a lot more difficult. So we've kind of designs that work for the most common things. Not that I don't take custom orders, but it's definitely become a much smaller piece of the business than it was when I started.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually have a question in the chat room. Lance is asking if you've thought about doing like a work shelf that kind of pulls out, like a section between 2 shelves between 2 tubs that would come out. So you've got somewhere to do some kind of work. Like if you've got racks all around you and you've got some kind of table to work on, do you think that would be something that would be easily added to a rack?
That actually is something we've got on the table right now that we've been working on a design. Right now with the modular or castle racks, there's about 1.5 inches between two racks when you stack the two. So what we're actually going to be creating and adding as an option on our website is if you get two racks, we're going to add an option to have a pull-out workspace that will actually go in that space between the two racks. So that's
nice.
It is something we thought of, and it's just a matter of getting the time to add that to the current designs and I guess get that implemented so that people can order it.
Yeah, you better do it quick, because if this guy already had that idea, then you know who else is going to get that idea. So it'd be cool if you had it, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've done it on a rack or two before. It's just a matter of finding the best. Before it was a custom rack that I built for somebody, and we figured out a way to do it for his rack. Now taking that idea and creating something that can go across the board rather than just that one certain rack.
Yeah.
So that's not.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
It's not far off. We just came out with the tubless racks that are kind of going to be replacing the ball box design that we were doing for a while, and we just added diamond racks are going to be added to the website soon. We're actually going to be. It's a food service tub. We call it the diamond rack because the tub is actually crystal clear. It's not smoky or anything like a lot of the Sterilite tubs that you see. You can't see through them really well. I mean, you can, but it's not. If you've got a beautiful pied ball python or a 3 or 4 gene leopard gecko that's just off the charts.
Yeah.
You want to see that animal. So, and especially if people have just 1 or 2 animals, they want to see them, but they also want to offer them the best possible husbandry, which is the whole reason for a rack system in the first place. So we've kind of got 2 different ways that we're approaching that. The one is the crystal clear tub where you can actually see through it, which one of the things that I'm going to be adding to that is going to be LED lighting, so that way you can actually light up from the inside and see absolutely everything. And then the tubless rack is actually it's a mini cage stack. It's about the same size as a 32-quart tub, but it's about 12 inches tall instead of 6, and it actually has a Lexan door, which Lexan is the brand. It's similar to acrylic, but it's actually clearer, less likely to scratch, and stronger. So we've kind of gone the direction, having something a little better than what everybody else does. So Lexan is actually also known as bulletproof glass. If you get it thick enough, it will stop a bullet. We're not using it that thick, though.
Oh, yeah.
Necessary for keeping snakes in versus stopping bullets is, two different things. But
I mean, like we were talking about with the earthquakes, if your rack falls, you don't want your glass breaking,
Right. Yeah, this is much glass, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, but we use it thick enough where it's not going to be a problem as far as, if a snake decides to push or anything, they're not going to be able to push the door out of the, out of a cage or out of the tubless rack system. But, it's really, really clear so you can see inside. We're going to be doing the tubless racks. We're also going to be making an arboreal version for people who have either crested geckos or, there's a popularity surge going on right now with Amazon and green tree pythons. So we're going to be making a taller version that's going to have perches and all the things that everybody needs in them for those particular animals.
Yeah, you know what would be really cool is if you did like the tall rack, but you know the Sterilite tub, like a 1753, the 16 quart, but it's really tall. Like if you did that for crested geckos.
Oh, I do. I have that design. It's not on our website, but this is one of the reasons why I keep a Facebook presence as strong as I do, is because there's a lot of racks that I've designed and built a time or two that I haven't moved over to our newest designs, but I know the tub spacing, I know the tub size, so it's really simple to go back in and say, okay, we're going to, you know, those tubs I think are 27 quart. I don't remember. I have one on the other side of the shop, but walking over there I might lose the phone call, and that's not what I want to do right now. But I know which tub you're talking about, quart or something like that. It's about the same size as the 1753, but it's 12 inches tall instead of 6. We've done a couple of those 5 tall, where it's about the same height as our 12 tall. Our 10 tall 1532, and we've done a couple 3 tall. So, you know, if somebody wanted that for crested geckos, that's certainly something. And, you know, it's one of those things where wearing so many hats within my business, I don't always have a chance to get everything on the website that we offer. You know, like another thing we offer that's not on our website is the Vision Boa tubs, the huge 30 by 40 inch giant tubs that are, I would say, at least capable of holding an adult male boa constrictor, probably not so much can hold a female almost to breeding size, but definitely a male for life. You know, we make those frequently, but I don't have them on the website because it's just difficult to keep up with maintaining the website, maintaining all the orders, and trying to get everybody their racks as quickly as I'd like to. So, you know, it's I'm actually website in probably the next 2 or 3 months. I've been discussing with a web designer, so once I get some better pictures of be doing that. And one of the really nice things we're going to be offering when we get the new website is there's a really nice financing company out there. It's called Affirm. They do consumer loans on products like basically anything you can buy online. They'll finance it directly and give you much easier to handle terms than some of the credit cards out there. So, so once we get the website designed, that's one of those add-ons that can be added to the website, and we can offer people more options, you know, because not everybody wants to put a rack on a MasterCard at 29%. With Affirm, they can do something. If they have a nice 6 months no interest, 12 months no interest if it's amount, and they're a lot easier to qualify for than a lot of other financing. So it's something we've been adding that when we redo the website.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I mean, I haven't even thought about something like that. And I use those all the time, like shop floor, because I've got rentals and stuff. So we're always using the, like, investment type loans and stuff. But
yeah, I'm actually set up to take another. There's a business to business lender out there. They're called Behalf. I'm actually set up to take them right now already. You know, I've had a few customers that use them, and they only give you 90 days for most people.
Yeah.
So, you know, not a lot of people want to, you know, purchase $2,000 or $3,000 worth of racks and then only have 90 days. So something like Affirm would give you, you know, one of the examples the customer service guy was giving me when we were talking the other day was, you know, if somebody bought $3,000 worth of product, they would be able to, assuming that their credit was reasonable. It doesn't even have to be great credit. That's the nice part about them. Assuming they had reasonable credit, they would be able to get an interest rate as low as 10% and a fixed payment of for 3 or 4 years, and just be able to do their whole room all at once instead of having to time. Big benefit of that is you'll save more with the multi-rack discounts that they buy $2,000 or $3,000 worth of racks. There's some pretty hefty discounts we put in there. You'll save more with that than you'll ever pay in the interest. So it works out. It'll work out really well for a lot of people once we have that option.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way we do business. We're always trying to do something better for our customer. So whether it be a better design or offering a better purchase, I've been doing layaway for people since we started. And it's just, it helps people be able to get what they need and, put $50 a week towards it or $50 a month towards it. And, I don't have terms or anything when it comes to the minimum amount before you can do a layaway plan. If you want a $300 rack, then that's fine. I'll do, give me 25% down and you have 6 months to pay for it. 6 months when it gets closer to being paid off, then I get it, into the line to be built. And then usually right as somebody's making their last payment, it's just getting ready to be built. And then we can ship it not too long after it's paid off, depending on everybody's circumstance. I mean, I've had customers pay things off in 2 or 3 weeks, and then, I'm still working on getting the rack. But, a lot of customers they'll spread out a $500 purchase over, 2 or 3 months, and that gives me time to put them in the order to be built, getting their rack right when they pay for it, and it works out really well for them.
Nice. So that's pretty cool that you offer something like that.
Yeah, we try to be as customer. I mean, that's the bottom line is, I don't build these racks because it's something cool and fun to do. I mean, sometimes it is, but I build these racks because in the end it's better for the animals. And by making something better for the animals, that's also better for the person buying the rack. It's a win-win for everybody. That's kind of the way I look at things.
Have
I wish
you
I could make a rack that had I wish I could make a rack that has like an alarm that goes off that reminds you to clean your animals and give them fresh water every day. But we're not quite there yet with the technology.
Well, you could always use timers. I mean, there's timers you could get. But have you thought about resale, like making racks at discounted prices for like brick and mortar pet stores, and then they resell them for your normal price that you sell them at? Have you thought about doing something like that?
Absolutely. We actually have a rack builder. He does melamine racks on his own, and he actually purchases PVC racks from us at a wholesale price and resells them in his area. He does some shows in his area, and he does pretty well with that. And we're actually we have a very strong following in the St. Louis area, and one of our friends, who's also one of our customers, is actually getting ready to open up their own pet store. It's going to be Midwest Exotic Pets. And
oh yeah, Logan.
Yep, Logan. Yep, we're going to be building all the racks and cages for his. But we're also going to be setting up a resale setup with him for his store, so that way he can keep Herptastic racks in stock and ready for customers who don't want to wait for us to come to a show in St. Louis. We do the Show Me Reptile show, every other time at least. This year we're actually 2 in a row, May and July, and we're going to do 2 in a row, October and December. And we also did February, and who knows, next year we might just do them all. But we sponsor that show. It's good for us to be there. We're doing a lot of things right now where we just did a big giveaway for society. We did I donated a rack that sold, and all the proceeds went to that. We just did, over this weekend, we sold raffle tickets and did a raffle for a $300 gift certificate, and all the proceeds went to the Herp Society. So we're definitely strong on supporting the people who are out there helping all the animals. So society is a really big deal. And we try to do what we can for them. So we're actually going to be building them some cages and some racks over the next couple of months as well, just to kind of help them out, and so they have for when people surrender things and things like that.
That's really cool. And it's great that you're also...
we're all in this together.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're like the only rack builder on Facebook with a presence, and you're donating to stuff and, talking to people and doing all of that. So that's, I think it's really going to be a good thing over the next 5-10 years. I mean, hopefully you'll be the one that everybody talks about, especially if you can get more buildings and machines and employees. And
yeah, I consider myself small still, but I don't really know, honestly, how I compare to, some of the other, larger builders that are out there, but that, as small as possible when it comes to that. I don't try to go too crazy. I'm the biggest rack builder there is, or I make the best rack there is. It's just not how I am, but I do my best to make the best I can for everybody and do it as quickly as I can. And we've PVC a few times to try and find this there, and we've narrowed it down to a PVC that we found that's significantly strong. The companies out there are using. We even debated at one point we were going to try and get something a little thicker than what everybody else was using, but in the end it becomes too much weight to ship. So, I try to do free shipping as often as I can. So, it is.
Oh, really?
It's about 50. Oh, yeah. Almost all the time. I do have for the enclosed racks, $40. But more often than not, we're running a free shipping promotion. So like right now, every rack we sell right now is free shipping, and it probably will be through the end of June. And the cages as well. There's a company out there that makes a 4x2 cage, and they sell it for $150, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's the cheapest cage you're going to get." Well, add shipping, add the cost of the lights, add the cost of the doors, figure it out after all the options and talk to me, because my 4x2 cage, the disassembled version we're coming out with is $225 or $250. I have to double check, but that's with free shipping. So, when it comes down to it, and everything, it's all said and done, I usually can come in the same ballpark as everybody else. And, you know, you don't have to worry about, if you live in Washington State, you know, is it going to cost you $100 to ship a rack or a cage? The only shipping for is Alaska, Hawaii, because it really, really gets up there in price to ship to Alaska and Hawaii. But, you know, we do have a couple of customers in Alaska. Hawaii I haven't done yet. There's not a whole lot of snakes there. I think snakes are illegal, but we haven't had a whole lot of customers in Hawaii. But with Alaska, what I generally do is price what shipping would cost me if I shipped it to Seattle, and whatever the difference is, that's all I charge. It's not, you know, I don't sit there and say, oh, well, it's $150 to ship. You know, it would cost me $75 to ship it to Seattle, and it cost me $125 to ship it to Alaska. The difference is $50. It's just the right way to do things, you know. I'm not going to take advantage of somebody just because it's probably one of the most beautiful places in the country. I can be jealous all I want.
Yeah. We do have another question in the chat. They're asking, what are the advantages of having your rack besides, like, how is your rack better than me building my own?
Well, there's a few things.
Square.
Well, yeah, it being square and true is definitely a big advantage. The other advantage is PVC is hard to come by, you know, to a regular person without having a business license and going to a PVC distributor. You know, it can be very, very pricey for 2 sheets. We only build in PVC. We don't do any wood racks anymore. So, I do a large volume of business with my PVC distributor, and so I can pass along the savings, and that's why my racks are much better priced than if I was paying, say, you know, $125 a sheet, which is, you know, typical MSRP on the sheets if you're only buying 1 or 2. The other big difference is we can recess the heat tape. We do that on every single rack we build. Put your heat tape directly on the shelf, and the tub slides over the heat tape every day when you're opening and closing the tubs, changing water, cleaning tubs. It's the heat tape. There's friction there, and it wears on it. Our heat tape is recessed. It's very slight. It's only about a 32nd of an inch, but it's enough that when you slide the tub into the rack, there's very little friction. So the heat tape lasts much, much longer and is much less likely to either short out or have any kind of an electrical problem. You know, this is not just your animals we're talking about. This is something that's electrical and heating in your home, and you can do to protect that is a good idea. I mean, could be lives at stake, honestly, when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
You know, if a rack starts on fire and starts your house on fire, it's a very bad thing. One of the things that we've done that I say sets us apart from even other rack builders, every single shelf on every single rack has a probe pocket that sits under the heat tape. When you have a rack, whether it be one that you built yourself or from another manufacturer, you're going to tape the probe to the heat tape to try and keep it on there and make sure that, you know, your thermostat's registering the proper temperatures and all of that. By moving the probe to underneath the heat tape, when you slide that tub in, there is never a worry or a concern that you're going to bump the probe off the heat tape and lose that connection and have your rack overheat.
Yeah.
So there's that. You know, not to mention, you know, the fact that PVC is completely impervious to water. So all the humidity, you know, any kind of odor that, you know, snakes do use the bathroom, geckos use the bathroom, so you've got odors in there. The racks won't absorb it. I've actually taken a rack outside.
That's true.
You know, I make it a habit of changing my heat tape out every few years, you know, just as a precaution. It probably could go 10 years and not fail, but it's just a thing I do every 3 years or so. And I actually will take the rack outside and power wash it. We have power washed one with the heat. It actually knocked the heat tape out of the rack because of the pressure, but with the heat tape out of the rack, you can actually power wash the rack. That's how completely worry-free it is when it comes to water. You can take a cage outside, fill it up with bleach and water or chlorhexidine in water or F10 in water, whatever disinfectant you want to use. You can take it out, fill it up, you know, up to the substrate dam, you know, 3 or 4 inches of water, and just your tub, you know, the entire cage out. You could take the rack outside and do the same thing, hose it down, hit it with a spritz, clean the entire rack top to bottom. You know, a lot of people when they're cleaning, they miss the top it's the bottom part that would be the top, where the tub, actually where the open part of the tub hits. A lot of people miss that when they're cleaning their racks, and that's really an important part to clean. So you can actually, like I said, you could take the whole rack outside, hose it down, clean everything, or you could do it in your reptile room, you know, spray the whole rack down real well with whatever cleaner you decide to use. You know, personally I use F10, but you know, some people like chlorhexidine, some people like bleach water. Mm-hmm. You can do that with no concern over anything. You just want to make sure it's dry before you put the heat tape back on or plug it back in if you've not taken the heat tape out.
Yeah.
It's, you know, because the material is completely impervious to water, it's the best material you can use.
Nice. That's we actually have a question in chat. Jeff Scott wonders, what brand of heat tape is it that you're using?
We have been using THG heat tape, which is most commonly available through Reptile Base. I buy it directly from THG, which, you know, is the manufacturer, but Reptile Basics sells it. The one thing we are doing is, instead of using, you know, going back to the 1532 is the most common rack, instead of using a piece of 4-inch heat tape or a piece of 3-inch heat tape and snaking it through the entire rack, which I can tell you many, many reasons why we don't. But on that rack, we actually are using THG's new 21-inch heat tape. And like on our 41 quarts and our 28 quarts, the narrower style racks, we're using 12-inch heat tape. And I get a lot of questions about that. The way we're doing it is we're actually cutting each shelf tape. The 1532 gets about 5 inches of length and wide. The shelf is 23 inches wide, so you've got heat tape almost edge to edge on the shelf. And what we do is we wire each piece to each other and down into one plug. So that way every piece is connected to the same thermostat. You don't have to run 5 thermostats for a 5-tall rack. That would just be insanely expensive. The wider heat tape we've done a lot of research on this. We've gotten THG, we've gotten FlexWatt, we've gotten a couple other brands. There's a few off brands. Big Apple Herp sells their own flexible heat tape. That's what they call it. It's not FlexWatt and it's not THG. But we tried it just to, that way we had the widest possible sample to compare. And generally, the wider heat tapes heat more evenly and use less power to provide the same temperature rise within the tub, so there's less waste. If you're running a piece of 3-inch heat tape as one piece through an entire rack, you could be using 20 feet of heat tape and only 10 feet of it is actually touching the tub. So that's just heating air and not really doing anything. And when you snake a piece of heat tape through, and then it has to be kind of bent to go back down flat on the shelf, and then take another bend to go vertically again, and then all those bends are just really bad for the heat tape. Generally, where you're going to see a failure point is where that. And one thing we kind of did, because we did run it that way for a little while when we were first starting out. And one thing we also noticed was when you're doing it that way, it's going to go up the left on one shelf, up the right on the next shelf, then up the left. And it's kind of going back and forth. And what you end up with is you end up with very uneven temperatures. For that vertical part, it's actually warmer on that side and then warmer on the other side on the next level up. And it kind of, you have left, right, where the heat tape is going from level to level. And, one of the things, we've just tried to get away from doing that to make sure that, we're not wasting heat and we're not creating odd. One of the other things, the way we do the heat tape and do the recessing we actually recess about a 1/4 inch deep for the wires because the heat tape is completely under the tub with our racks. There is no part, when you put the tub with a 41 quart, it gets about an 8-inch long piece of 12-inch heat tape. The entire piece of heat tape, every square inch of it, is underneath the tub. There's no, if you took the back of the rack off and actually got a really close look, there's no heat on the sides, front, back. There's none you can see. It's completely under the tub, so you're not wasting any of that heat. You're spending your money to buy the electricity that's heating your rack. Every bit of it should go into the tub because that's where it's needed.
Yeah.
So we've kind of, that's one of the other things, and that's where the whole idea with the probe pocket came in is when we move the heat tape completely under the tub, there's not really a place to put the probe. So we recessed underneath the heat tape. And it's one of the really nice things that I like about it is I'm sure you've got racks that you've got your degrees just to get 90 in the tub.
Yeah.
I've seen that with, every I can name. I mean, I'm not even, anybody's rack out there. If you do that, you've got to run sitting on top of the heat tape, and you've got to set, 10, 12 degrees high. Admittedly, there's nothing wrong with that. It's working. Your temperatures in your tub are where you want them to be. But during the setup process, it takes a while. With ours, I always recommend customers to start off with the temperature they want in the tub. If you want 90 in your tub, put the probe in the pocket under the heat tape, set it to 90 degrees, come back in 35, 40 minutes, and check your temps. 9 times out of 10, you're within a degree. So you don't have to have your thermostat set to temperature just to get 90 in the tub. You set it to 90 or 91, and you're going to get 90 in the tub.
Yeah.
Because of the way we've got it designed. And again, there's no worries about knocking that probe off the heat tape and creating a whole nother set of problems.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you're able to put it in there, because I know I have a problem. I have to, put the metal tape on the probe and stick it, and racks that is snaked up.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I'd like to think that my design's better. I'm not 100,000 times sure that it's the best things, but it certainly works, and it works very, very well. And I've had a lot of customers tell me that it's the best they've done with heat tape. So, we continue to do that.
Nice. We do have another question in chat. Do you plan on doing incubators, or do you do incubators already?
Yes. We actually prototyped out a small incubator not too long ago. I think it was the end of April. We actually showed it off, the very first prototype. What we're doing is we have a small incubator that will hold tubs, and I've got several friends that have, different major manufacturer built incubators, so I've kind of discussed with them what were the shortcomings, what did they not like. One of the biggest problems a good friend of mine has with his big name brand incubator, one of the only big manufacturers who makes one, you have to use the Iris brand tubs that they tell you, or you can't fit the number of tubs they advertise in the incubator.
Yeah.
His incubator, I think it's designed to take, it's either 6 or 8, I don't remember. It's their smallest one. And it was something like $600 or $700 by the time he paid shipping. Yeah. And when he went to put the tub that he likes to use in it, which is the, I think it's 1751 is the tub that will handle 6-quart. They work really, really well for ball python eggs and bearded dragon eggs and things like that. He went and put that tub in there, and he can only fit 4. So he's like, I spent $600 on this incubator, and I can only put 4 tubs in it. Like, wow, that's really a high cost down to it. I mean, that's just wow. So it came with a thermostat, and it came with, everything else it needed. And then we were talking some more about it, and he's like, well, it doesn't hold any kind of water bottles, or I call it ballast. It's, incubator. It's so that way when you open the door, the temperature doesn't fall as much or as fast. If the power goes out, it fall as much or as fast.
Mm-hmm. So,
and the last thing, and it's, to me, it would just be annoying, but to some people, if you've got any kind of an OCD situation going, it would probably drive you crazy. They use shelves that are designed closet, and they cut them to the right length, and those closet shelves are metal, and the cut edge is rusting on his. He's only had it for a year, and it's rusting because of the humidity inside the ink. He said, okay, let's do something completely better. So what I came up with is, first of all, it's completely PVC. The shelves, false wall that separates the incubation chamber, everything is PVC. So there's no rust. You're never going to have rust. The shelves are fixed, but I set it up with room between the shelves, so if you want to use the 1751 tub, it'll fit. If you use iris tubs, it'll still fit 6. If you want to use some wacky tub that I've never even heard of, I've actually tried the really useful boxes. They're a British tub. It fits 6 of them. Fine.
Nice.
So I kind of designed it where you can use the tub that you like. You're not stuck with the tub that I tell you. And that's kind of nice. We also left a space down at the bottom for water bottles. There's actually, I think in the small one, I think when I did it, I put 6 or 8 20-ounce water bottles. To me, it makes complete sense to do that. And by putting it at the bottom, the heat from those bottles will rise later if the power goes out to try and keep things warm as possible. Another thing I decided to do the airflow. The incubator that he has, the fan is located at the top, and it sucks it to the incubator. Heat rises, sucks that in, and then it goes and blows through the false wall where the heat tape is, and then blows it out at the bottom. Didn't make sense to me. You want to warm your cold air, and you want to keep a constant going. So we put the fan at the bottom, and with the fan at the bottom, it's sucking in the cool air. It's sucking in the bottles, so that the air is getting a little bit of warmth from the bottles, and then it goes up to the top, and it's blowing the warm air out at the top. But because the fan is sucking down at the bottom, and it's, with the door closed, it's sealed, there's vents in every shelf, so the air flows back down to the bottom to be recirculated over and over again, and it works out really well.
Nice.
We also installed the Herptastic Intro Plus. It's built right into the incubator. So it's right there on the front panel of the incubator. It's mounted. It's designed to be there. It fits in. It doesn't have to sit on top. So you can actually, stack something on top of the incubator if you needed to. I think the biggest deal, though, is the price. Small incubator is $425 shipped.
Yeah.
That's nobody's even close. I mean, is it expensive? Yeah, it is. But it also takes me 3.5 hours to build one because there's so many small parts, and the door seals perfectly and make sure that everything, is how it needs to be. But it's from $425 shipped. It's $350 plus $75 shipping. But we're just going to do $425 shipped is pretty much how I'm going to do it. Probably just leave it with, so you don't have to worry about what shipping costs. It's $425. And then that's our small one. The next step up is going to be, I haven't actually built it yet. The design has been completed, but I have to actually take time from cutting customers' orders to do the first one and prototype it out. But the design is 5 levels. Hang on. I got to think about it for a second. No, it's 3 levels, and it holds 6 tubs per level, so it's 18 tubs based on the 1751 with a little bit of room to spare. So if you have a little bit taller tub, it will still fit them. But using the 1751 tub, it definitely fits 18. And that one's going to run in the neighborhood of $600 plus shipping. That one's going to have to be shipped freight, unfortunately, because of its size.
Yeah.
It's significantly larger. But I do have a really good freight carrier. I've got a really good deal carrier, so I can actually get it to California for $300 or less. So,
wow.
Compared to, an $800 or $900 incubator with, at least $200 or $300 shipping on top of that as well, it's still significantly less. And then the large model, which I haven't finished the design on, the 5 or 6 levels of the same tubs going 3 wide, 2 tall on each shelf. So it's either going to hold 30 or 36 of the 6-quart tubs. So that's going to be for a larger breeder, somebody who's, probably making money on their snakes at that point. So, we're kind of making sure we cover a guy who's just got a couple things all the way up to a large breeder. And the one thing that's nice, the medium and the large, not only will they take the 6-quart tubs, they'll take 15-quart, 32-quart, 28-quart, 16-quart. You're not stuck. So if you're a retic breeder,
nice.
Which I know, the majority of your listeners are leopard, gecko, and that kind of thing. But, if there's a retic breeder out, they're going to be using 32-quart or 28-quart tubs for their eggs, because you're talking about a snake that will lay 20, 30, 40 eggs. So some clutches even take 2 32-quart tubs. The medium and the large will actually hold 1 or 28-quart. It'll hold 2 15-quart or 16-quart tubs, or I guess the 12-quart tubs would fit. I'm pretty sure they're kind of tall. I don't know why anybody would use it, but if you did, it would fit. Like I said, one of the main focuses that we went with was to make sure that you're not stuck using the tub that, it's designed for. Because we all know, too, the companies change their tubs every now and then, too. So,
yeah,
you've got an incubator that'll last you 20 years, 20 years. So you may have to change to something else. The incubator's ready for that.
Yeah. Well, we have another question. What? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's the question?
So, what are some other? I've been posting all your pictures in the chat. So, I don't know where it went. Anyway.
Well, whoever
are you
had a
planning
question
on
retype it then?
Yeah, send it back so I can find it. Are you going to do any West Coast shows, like maybe Vegas this September?
This year we're not, but there's 2 things that we've discussed doing, and we're either going to do a West Coast show. We've been discussing either I think there's one in San Diego, there's one in Sacramento, and there's one in like Washington or Oregon. They're all big shows. And so we've been discussing doing, one of those shows next year for sure. And one of the things that we've kind of decided that we're going to try out this year is adding a delivery schedule. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work right now. I've got some cages that I'm going to be delivering to Tampa in a few months. I get the dates closer to being figured out on that. I'm going to announce, we're going to be making a delivery trip to Tampa. Anybody who needs racks or cages that's, along the way, or wants to meet us in Tampa, we're going to meet them up. We're going to meet up with them, and that way they don't have to have items shipped. We can do large cages. They can. That's been one of the big things people have complained to me about is freight costs a fortune.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people out there that want bigger cages, but they don't want to pay. You know, sometimes it's as much as the cage.
Yeah.
You know, you've got somebody who's going to get $1,000 cage. You know, say for example, an 8-foot by 3-foot enclosure. They're spending a fortune on the cage. They don't want to spend $400 or $500 to ship it. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, if one of the things we're going to try and do is, you know, right now we're already doing large cages with free delivery to our show. You know, and with St. Louis being pretty much dead center of the country, we've had people come from Kansas and Nebraska and Oklahoma up to St. Louis to pick up cages. But one of the things we're going to try to do is say, you know, okay, we're going to make a trip to Houston. And anybody who's along this highway that wants to meet us, you know, it may not be the best hour of the night. You may have to stay up late, really early. But, you know, if you can meet up with us, then you can save $400 or $500. Have to pay freight, and know for a fact that your cage is not going to be even scratched. I mean, let alone the damages that can happen with. We pack everything as well as we can, but you know, if you've ever been to a freight center and seen how these guys drive these forklifts, they all think they're Mario Andretti with a forklift over there. So, you know, you know, you'd think they were getting paid by the pallet instead of by the hour to move these things, but I don't get it. So, anyway, we, you know, we're going to be doing that. Definitely doing a run through Tampa, which is going to take us through, you know, Orlando, Daytona, probably Carolina. You know, it's not a long trip from here to there, Carolina.
Yeah.
You know, and we've met people on the way to and from the show that we do in St. Louis. You know, we're doing the Rochester Rexpo show in November.
Oh, nice.
So we may deliver to some people along the way, you know, through Pennsylvania or through Ohio, you know, West Virginia. So, you know, we've found that a lot of people are interested in that option. And then they don't have to worry paying for it in time for a show because we can make the delivery schedule around them. You know, and as long as the primary customer is willing to work with us, then we can add on some more orders and, you know, take care of a few more people all in the same, and everybody's happy.
Nice.
So
that's really,
you know, we're trying something. A lot of vendors do shows. We're going to try and do a delivery schedule and see if we can make that work.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you could just do like a huge loop around the U.S. You know, just dropping them off.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll drive down to Florida, then drive across to San Diego, up to Seattle, and come back across the northern
right? Yeah.
I'd love to see the country like that. I've seen it, but I think if I did that, I'd be able to cross the rest of them off.
Yeah. Well, it would be great if we could get you out here for Sacramento or some show on the West Coast. I mean,
yeah, like I said, it's definitely something that we're interested in doing. You know, it's a couple thousand miles each way, so I'll probably lose. I out to Sacramento in 3.5 days, and then do the show.
Wow. Yeah.
And then it would be probably 4.5 to 5 days back, just because after doing the show and having driven out there, I'm going to be tired and need to kind of catch up a little. You know, it's not something that's out of the question. It's definitely something that's been discussed. So, hopefully we'll be discussing this time next year that, hey, we're coming to the fall show in Sacramento.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that would be awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm coming up pretty close to the end of the show. So is there anything else you wanted to cover with everybody and let them know? Is any kind of sales or, any specials? Do you have any racks that are specials where you sell them cheaper than the other ones just because it's a basic, like a 1753 that's 12 tubs or something like that?
Well, what I was going to do is that's our 1532. We do a 5 tall enclosed. Usually it's 335, and we, usually it's $40 shipping, but we've been doing the free shipping promotion, so it's just 335. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a promo code to the website. It's herptasticreptiles.com. I'm going to add a promo code for the Late Night Gecko show. It's going to be LNG10, just like that, LNG10, and that'll take 10% off any rack or cage that you purchase from the website. And I'm going to do that for 2 weeks for any one of the listeners here that want to purchase a rack from us or purchase a cage from us. They'll get an additional 10% off. And if somebody wants something that's custom, or you can text me. I actually have a special hotline number. It's area code 314, and then it's RACKS34. So it's 314 RACKS 34. You can text me, and I'll be happy to discuss whatever your custom needs are, and that 10% will apply there as well.
So he's even got a special RACKS phone number. That's so great.
Well, it's kind of funny. I got a pickup truck so I can do the shows and deliveries and pull my trailer full of materials and things like that. And I kind of said, why don't I get this cool license plate and let's see if it works. I wanted to get Rackman. And the DMV said that doesn't pass the profanity filter because, there's another thing that some people call a rack. So I actually went to the DMV office and, signed a statement saying that, why I wanted that particular license, that it relates to my business. And I guess it goes through some kind of a review process, but about 2 weeks later, my license plates came, so I actually have Rackman license plates for my truck. Geez. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm let's just take it another step further. So I went and said, well, let's see if I can get a phone number with the word racks in it. So there you go. We have the rack phone.
Wow.
So, yep.
That's great.
It's, having fun with it, but at work it does go right to my phone, and, you can text me there and get me, and, during human hours you can try and call me.
Yeah, right.
But, I'm going to add that promo code to the website. It'll probably be live in about 20 minutes. Who wants to
Thank you.
place an order, they're welcome to, and, it'll be LNG10. So it'll be 10% off and any of the free shipping. We also always have military discounts. I'm a veteran myself, and, it's one of those things. I don't try to talk it up too much because that's not what, being a veteran's about. It's, I did my part and everything, but, I'm not I don't go out there and just, go crazy with that. But, we always do military discount, and I'm always happy to do that for people. One of the things we did a Memorial Day sale for people who lost a friend or family to military service. We did really some awesome things for people out there. So that was kind of nice, a nice way to give back to the people who didn't come home. So
cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on, and hopefully we'll be able to get you on again in the future. I know we, didn't really cover everything. We just got through the racks, but it was great having you on.
Well, it was definitely nice to be a part of the show, and I look forward to doing it again sometime.
All right. Thank you so much, and don't forget, guys, that's LNG10 for 10% off racks and things from the Rack Man. So thank you so much, Chris, and we will see you next time.
You guys have a good one.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Waiting for my computer to load. Caller from the 530, you're on the air. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for tuning in. It was a great show. That's awesome. I never even thought about license plate for that. Phone number, yeah. Definitely for me locally, I've been thinking about the phone number thing, but with the whole internet, tonight we're streaming from my my cell phone using the hotspot, so I don't even know if in the future we're going to be doing internet, so I might just drop the whole shebang and not have phone or internet or anything like that and just use the iPhone. So, yeah, the incubators look really cool. If you guys go to facebook.com/HE-tiles, and you can check out some of the stuff. In the photos, of course I was asking about incubators and all that, but they're actually there, and you can see pictures of what he's talking about, where he took the CD PVC shelving and cut air slits in it, which is a lot better than the metal shelving. Jeff wants a personal license plate that says Hangman. But also, the ball box he's got for ball pythons. I know that sounds really, the Rack Man and ball box and all that sounds crazy. But, yeah, if you look at the pictures there, it's really cool, like ball python, and it's got a lock, a handle, and all kinds of cool stuff, and a shelf, and it says T-Rex on this one. That's pretty cool. I wonder if you could get something personalized, have it where it says Herptastic ball box, and then underneath it says Fluffy or whatever your snake's name is, or whatever you keep in there. Maybe you could put a monitor in one of these things, or a Euromastics would be pretty cool. Bearded Dragon in there, get it all personalized and all that. The locking rack system is very interesting to look at. It is kind of like a castle shape on top and on bottom, so that you can actually hook them together. You set it straight down, set it down vertically on the rack, and the back and the sides all have that castle shape to it. And when you've got he's got a picture of the 16 32-quart tub base, and it's got the 6-quart tub on top of that, and that rack is not so deep. It's a little more shallow by about 4 inches, and you can see that the smaller rack still fits on standing on top of the bigger rack. So that's pretty cool. And I can see in that picture what he's talking about, where you can have the shelf that comes out, and it would seem to me like either he would put some kind of handle on the front of it or, you know, a notch in the top, especially with this one with the 6-quart on top, because it does sit back about it looks in the picture about 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches, and you could pull that out, and it would kind of be like on drawer sliders, so that, you know, you would get your workspace. But I mean, the only problem that I see with that is if you're using that workspace, then, you know, you'd have to move the tubs and stuff underneath. You know, it just seems like it might get in the way a little bit. You know, it's CD PVC is pretty expensive, but that's just something that you're gonna have sometimes. It's fire resistant, water resistant. I think even waterproof is what you could call it. I mean, ABS plastic they use for sewer and all of that. So I mean, plastic is plastic. Yeah, I wonder what it holds up to under UV. Like if that's going to be an issue in the future, if you had like bearded dragons and something like that, and you use the UV lights. But yeah, scrolling through his pictures, I mean, he's got a pretty good stockpile of that PVC sheeting and some really cool. There's like a case with no window on it. Like if you put the ball python in this imprisoned in the shoe, you know, like a solitary confinement with nothing around it. Green tree python enclosures. I mean, you name it, this guy's making it. And some of these big, like the 4-foot wide enclosures, he's even got stands that go underneath. Now, what I would like with the stands is if it was an actual cabinet, like a fish stand. You know, like if you've got the 55-gallon fish tank and it's got the drawers and doors underneath, that would be a really good addition to that. Yeah, just really cool stuff. And I did see scrolling through, I mean, he's got like, when you go to the show, you know, and they've got all the deli cups in those display cases, it looks like he's making some display cases, 150 each or 4 for $5.50, but that's a post from November 9th of 2015. So the prices could have changed by then, especially if he's buying in bulk right now. But yeah, I saw some PVC hides. It looked like he made, you know, back in April of 2015. Cool. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Go check out his pictures and stuff on his page. He's got a lot of really cool stuff. Cypress bedding, really cool stuff, all kinds of stuff. I mean, this guy sells everything. That's Herptastic Reptiles on Facebook. And thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. This is probably going to be the last free show, and after this, there are going to be subscriptions and subscribers on YouTube. So iTunes will still always be free, but you will probably be having advertisements and stuff before and during and after the episode, just because of the, you know, especially if we do 2-hour-long ones or hour and a half. Anything over 30-minute shows are going to be with advertisements and stuff like that, just because I have to pay to have the longer shows. So I kind of have to offset that a little bit. I mean, it brings in like maybe $5 a month, and I pay $40 a month for the Blog Talk subscription. So I mean, it just has to offset some of that. But hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget it is LNG10 for 10% off. And if you want to give them a text, have any questions about custom orders or, you know, using that code or ordering or anything like that, it's 314-RACS34. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.